7-6, 7-6.
Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Tennis Asia podcast. And on this week's show, we're talking Taipei, the end of the Asia Challenger swing. We're wrapping up Rome, checking in on Bordeaux and assorted European Challenger spots, as well as looking forward to Roland-Garros qualifying, plus plenty more. And joining me to navigate through the never-ending grind of the Pro Tennis Tour is a man who is always strict with his time. That's Mr. Tennis Asia himself, Eddie McGee. Eddie, how are you?
Very good, Alastair. A little bit sad. I can't believe we finally got to the end of the Asian Challenger swing.
What on earth are you going to do with your daytimes now?
Well, luckily we've got Roland-Garros coming up, so it just never ends.
Tennis, that's what we're going to do. Tennis, that's the thing. Yeah, it's been a good 6 weeks or whatever, but it is finally over. The final stop on this Asia Challenger swing was Taipei, and it was Adam Walton who prevailed after a tough 3-setter with Marchenko, I think it was, who in turn overcame your pick, the local star Sue, in a similarly lengthy fashion in the semis. I think we'll talk about Sue first, as he was looking strong throughout the week. He started off the tournament, as you predicted, actually, a week ago, by beating Busan champion Uchijima.
Yeah, so although I did pick him to win the tournament, Sue, I did also back Walton. So initially, but then I sort of wanted to pick up an Asian player there. But Sue... Yu-hsiou came through that one 7-6, 6-3 against Uchijima. Yeah, that was a really good match, and I thought because he started so well, Uchijima, of course, has talent as well. And yeah, they were trading ground strokes beautifully. Really high quality match, but Shu was just very impressive in that opening match against the 4th seed Uchijima. You know, I was impressed with how, he's got good ground strokes, but especially the forehand, he's able to make a lot happen with that side of his. And also, he's got good footwork, I felt like, because, he likes that forehand and he can run around it, and he's got good footwork that he's able to get in position and use that. And then also, he's also pretty adept at the net, and when he comes into it, he usually does pretty well. And should also say that actually, part of that is because he's quite experienced in doubles, and he's won a few challenger titles at doubles, and he almost did the career the calendar Grand Slam in juniors in doubles, because he won 3 out of the 4 slams in 1 year in 2017 in juniors, and Australian Open, Wimbledon, and the US Open juniors. So yeah, obviously he's got some pedigree in doubles. Those were all with different partners as well. So he's obviously doing a lot of work there. But in this match, he was really good, and he's someone that's steadily built up from ITFs. A few years ago he was in the ITFs when he seemed to be winning a lot of matches, and he progressed steadily onto the Challenger circuit. So Xu of Taiwan coming through that first match 7-6, 6-3 very well, and then he came through comfortably in the second round against Ryo Noguchi of Japan 6-1, 6-4, and then he faced Hong Sung-chan of Korea. That was a very good match, that one, and Hong was fighting hard, and Xu had to take it it went to 3 sets.
Deciding set,
yeah. So it went 6-4, 4-6, 6-1, and really, it was very close up until that. But then I think Xu did step up, and Hong couldn't really keep up in that final set. So Xu as well, obviously having big support at home, and he went in clearly after those first 3 games confident. He was playing well, really hitting well, anticipating well. I felt like I noticed that, he was reading the game very well in this, and sometimes it's not always about what you do with the ball; it's what you, is how you deal with what your opponent throws at you, and that's sometimes, going to do you well. And I felt like he was doing that in this tournament. And then in the semi-finals, he placed Ilya Marchenko of Ukraine, Marchenko
He
had
began
knocked
like
out.
a train.
Yeah, well, Marchenko had knocked out Max Purcell in straight sets, and I felt like, because I saw a little bit of that. I mean, Max Purcell. I mean, this was the first time he'd reached in this tournament. He'd won 2 matches in a row in the first and second round. That's the first time since August last year that he'd done that at any level. And so when he came into the quarterfinals, I felt like, you know, he wasn't as, you know, a great level, but Marchenko came through that one. So I did feel like, so with the way he was playing, that he was going to come through and beat Marchenko in the semi-finals. And actually, he did start off very well. He went up 6-love and got the bagel in the first set. And I mean, it maybe, like, you know, the nature of tennis, maybe that scoreline was a little bit harsh, but Yu-hsiou was definitely on top of on that first set. But fair play to Marchenko, because he came back and really fought well in that second set. And perhaps Yu maybe were feeling a little bit disappointed that he couldn't get a bit more in that second set, because he eventually lost it in the tiebreak 7-6. I'm sorry, 7-3 in the tiebreak. And then, I felt like, there were some points which were really long points in that, on like Marchenko's serve. I think it was at deuce. And Marchenko managed to hold at 5-all. I don't think Yu had any break points in that, but they were fighting really hard. And Marchenko, to his credit, was able to hold on there. And he came through the tiebreak. And then he just, I think Yu was rattled, to be honest, because, which is maybe not that surprising given you know how it started. But he started off, and Marchenko broke early in that final set. And he went on to maintain that lead and won that final set 6-3. So for Yu, he did eventually, you know, he started to make a better effort of it as the set progressed, but unfortunately it wasn't enough for him. And Marchenko moved on to the final against Adam Walton. So Adam Walton, who, initially, when, I don't know if you remember, we did the episode last week, I said Adam Walton, I thought it could be his week. But then I said, if I'm going to pick an Asian player, I'll probably pick Yu. And the reason I picked them is also because they're on opposite sides of the draw. Almost got a Walton-Yu final, but no, it was Walton who came through in the semi-finals against James Duckworth from a set down.
The 32nd seed, according to... still the 32nd seed, according to Google.
It's the Taipei Slam. And
Taipei Slam, yes.
The plucky 32nd seed almost making it to the final, but
fairy tale story.
So it ended up being Walton against Marchenko, and maybe Marchenko, I mean, such as tennis, I mean, I think he did win a challenger last year, but generally speaking, he's at the tailor end of his career. He's getting on a bit now, right? So, I mean, he hadn't been looking that sharp. I would say, like, his you know, as you age, like you lose a little bit in terms of your movement and you know that kind of aspects of the game. And but he is quite strong in terms of his strokes and stuff like that. But and so he took that form from the end of the Yu match into the final and took the first set 6-3 against Adam Walton. And he really was quite, exceptional in that first set. Adam Walton, though, has been, he's up near the top 100, or he was coming into this tournament. And the reason is because he's been having, a very good year or so, right? And he's been very consistent. And I think, that was the story, is that he was just the more solid player in the end in that match, because Ilya Marchenko, he just couldn't keep up that level, because it was quite a high level that he was playing. I mean, why is his ranking not higher? Is because he's not been able to play at that level consistently, and that's the way the match panned out. And so Adam Walton has been playing at a higher level, and I think it's interesting because Walton, I feel like he's not like. He's not. I wouldn't say he's like a player with like massive weapons, but he serves well, and he's just very solid. And sometimes if you want to maintain good level, it's as much about what's your your lowest level. You can't. You can have those good days that you're going to be playing really well, like Marchenko was. But if you're going to climb the rankings, you're going to have much fewer bad days. You can't be throwing.
Well, that's the story of tennis, isn't it? I mean, everyone in the top 500 who's making a living at it is exceptionally good at the sport. It's just those who have either got the big weapons or those who can do it week in, week out, month in, month out, defend your ranking year after year after year. They're the ones who make it to the top. And Walton, he won the tiebreak, and he's into the top 100 now.
Yeah, that's right. So Adam Walton, congratulations to him. Finally, he breaks into the top 100. He's now at 95 in the rankings. So that's a big thing for him. Now should be able to make the Grand Slams going forward. At least he'll be in the Wimbledon draw, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
And and possibly US Open coming up further. But great for him to be able to do that. And we'll see how much farther he can go. Maybe we talk a little bit about the
doubles in Taipei before we move on. A month ago, Ray Ho, of course, came across to Nam Ji-sung's native Korea, and together they won the doubles with you sitting in the front row, I think it was. This week, Nam goes to Ray's native Taiwan. We're allowed to say Taiwan on here, I think. And he returns the favour. It was quite a final. It was a milestone final as well.
Yeah, so it's pretty big for them. I mean, like, because Ray Ho and Nam Ji-sung, this was actually only their third challenger that they played together. The first challenger event they entered was in Busan, and they went on to win the title. I don't think they dropped a set there, did they?
Right.
I don't think they dropped the set all the way to the title in Busan. Obviously, that's a big 1-2-5 title. And then I think they went out in the first round in Gwangju. But after they were playing in different partners in the last couple of Asian swing events, that's probably because you have to decide these things in advance, the entry lists and stuff. But they probably decided, okay, we should probably get back together for Ray Ho's home tournament, and that's what they've done. And they came through against Arthur Ferry and Paris in the first round. That was Joshua Paris, and then Ray. In the second round they beat Bortola and Ramanathan of India, and then they came through against Shimizu and Trotter. Who have been doing pretty well recently in these events. So,
and that did go to the super breaker, didn't it?
Yeah, 10-6 in that final breaker. So, in the final, for Reiho and Nam Ji-sung, they won 6-2, 6-2 against the legend that is Toshihide Matsui and Kaito Uesugi of Japan. It was a pretty dominant performance, and seemingly in their respective countries, they seem almost unstoppable, Reiho and Nam Ji-sung. So they've got 2 out of 3 challenger tournaments they played together. I noticed that Reiho is going on to. He's managed to sneak in the singles draw in the a challenger event coming up. So that's pretty. I think it was qualies, but anyway. But for Matsui and Uesugi, even though they lost, I think if I'm not mistaken, is that Matsui at the age of 46 has just reached a new career high ranking.
Career high, 122, is it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's just one place above his previous high, which was 123. Yep. So I mean,
21 years after winning his first tournament.
Yeah, and
in doubles.
First challenger tournament, and then 46. I mean, it's ridiculous. And to be honest, I mean, he could still inch, further towards the top 100 and maybe make it. I mean, it's not that far now, but they're probably going to have to probably going to need to win a few more challenger tournaments coming up, but we'll see how that goes.
As I say almost every week, I in doubles hold my own against my co-workers who are 10, 15 years younger than me. That might have something to do with the fact that they're usually smoking on at the change of ends and things like that. But doubles, it can be done. We best move on now, and we'll move on to Rome. And when we recorded last week, I think Zheng Qinwen was fresh off beating Naomi Osaka, but Coco Gauff was a little bit of a bridge too far in the quarters.
Yeah, so obviously great for Zheng Qinwen to get that victory over Osaka, but yeah, she came into the quarterfinal against Gauff, and Coco Gauff had made something to prove. She hadn't had a great start to this season, and a lot of people were maybe expecting Zheng to come in and beat her. The first set was actually very good. I mean, it went to a tiebreak. It was very good hitting from both players. I really enjoyed, watching those two really go at it. Great, strong, powerful hitting. But I think ultimately, yeah. So Gauff was able to edge out that first tiebreak, and I think like this errors really started to come into it from Zheng. Zheng was going for too much. She's trying to, go big on her shots, and I think it's also difficult again when you're playing against Gauff because she defends very well, and that's probably what's maybe in the mind of Zheng. But yeah, unfortunately for her, she fell away a bit in that second set, and that was 6-1. It finished in the second set. So nonetheless, though, she reaches the quarterfinals of a WTA 1000 event. So that's not bad going into
a decent week's
I mean,
work.
she thinks she's top 8 in the rankings, right? So, and she's reached the final 8 of a Masters. So it's about, it's not bad. That's kind of what about the level you'd expect her to make, but she obviously should want to go further. But yeah, she can go and into Roland-Garros feeling pretty good to have got like a bunch of matches and some good wins under her belt. So, and but on the men's side,
Zhang, it was very similar. It was a week ago. Zhang Qichen, he had just come through. He got to the quarterfinals. He fell to, I think, the 29th seed. Was it Diablo?
Yeah. So Zhang Zhizhen, or Triple Z, as he's known as the nickname. So he reached the quarterfinals. Yeah, he had a good victory in the fourth round. That was against Thiago Monteiro, who's a qualifier. And yeah, that was a pretty convincing straight sets win. A good win because obviously Monteiro's in good form, and but Zhang managed to win that one, and then he played Tableau in the quarterfinals, who of course was on a great run himself, right, and having an amazing year. But and I think in that match, Tableau was deservedly the winner in straight sets. I remember at one point in the first set, there was a point where Zhang started to come towards the net, and I remember Tableau, he got the ball back, but then sort of Zhang was sort of caught in no man's land, and then he didn't make a very convincing attempt to get it back, and he lost that point. Right. And it's sort of like you can sometimes see in a player's head where they look a bit nervous, and then from that moment on, I felt like it started to unravel a bit, and in the big moments, Zhang just wasn't delivering, and Tableau was. I mean, he was some great shot making from Tableau, and so Tableau did win, and he went on to semi-finals, and he did lose, despite winning the first set 6-1 against Zverev. But I mean, a great tournament for him. But still, although Zhang might be disappointed with the quarterfinal loss, it's still pretty good for him. I mean, he actually moved up to a new career high of 42 in the rankings. So can't be that disappointed. And also, going into Roland-Garros, maybe he can take this and try and do something there, because Zhang Zhizhen, I mean, he's obviously quite capable on the clay, right? And definitely, French Open is somewhere where he'd want to be doing well, but he's only reached the third round at the French Open. He hasn't been past the third round of any slam. He reached the third round at the French Open and at the US Open. But certainly, I mean, I would obviously comes down to the draw and everything. He's not going to be seeded. Right. But I mean, a fourth round appearance, he'd be wanting to try and do one better probably, or even a quarterfinal. I wouldn't say it's out of the question, but yeah, I mean, he's got to feel fairly positive with how he's done anyway.
One to watch when the main draw comes out. Our sort of Tennis Asia purview interest in Rome sort of ended there, but I do think we have to have a word about Nicolas Jarry. We last saw him in person lumbering his way through an outside court, that one in Seoul with that little corrugated iron roof, against, I think, Ryan Peniston. I think it was. Obviously, a lot's gone on since then, but it was a great tournament for him in Rome.
Yeah, Nicolas Jarry's going to the final, and unfortunately for him, losing out in straight sets to Alexander Zverev. I mean, it was ridiculous in the final because I was watching that last night with Talking Tennis, and I mean, he served 80% first serves in and won 95% of those first serves.
Right.
I mean, he just wasn't missing those first serves, and it was really difficult because then it just put so much pressure on Jarry. Yeah, so I mean, it's just funny tennis like that, isn't it? Because like, what a difference, a year makes. So it was like autumn 2022. He was at the ATP 250, and we were watching him on the outside court in front of maybe there was 10 people there against Ryan Peniston. I mean, he was outside the top 100. Then I think a year later, he was near
10 people there. At least 3 of those people were hungover. I can vouch for that.
Yeah, and at least, but then about a year later, he's near the top 20, and now he's just reached the final of a Masters, so he's up. I can't remember his rank. I think he's 17th maybe in the ranking, so he's just not outside that top 16 seeds. But I don't think he's still going to be seeded anyway, so he's still got a good chance to do well there. Anyway, but maybe.
Okay. Just moving on, stay on the men's side for a while. Jerry Shang had a pretty good week in Bordeaux. He beat Dan Evans in the quarters there before going down to the second seed Martinez.
Yeah, so Jerry Shang, he was in Bordeaux, and it's a big Challenger tournament, this one. It's a Challenger 175 tournament, and coming through, some decent opposition as well. He beat Dan Evans in the quarterfinals in straight sets, and eventually he lost in the semis, and unfortunately straight sets. That was 7-5, 6-2 lost to Pedro Martinez, who lost to Arthur Fils in the final. Right. But Shang, I was a little bit because last time I remember saying that, like, because I was worried about his physical issues, but nonetheless to get through to semi-finals in the 175 is pretty good. And it actually meant that now Jerry Shang, or I call him Jerry Shang, but his actual name is Shang Juncheng.
Yes.
but he's now up to 89 in the ranking, so he's actually making his top 100 debut, and that's obviously great for him. Unfortunately for him, it didn't come quite in time for Roland-Garros because he's still having to play the Roland-Garros qualification, which is going to be starting today. I'm still concerned slightly about his physicality, because he has had some of the issues, and I think maybe in that last match he might have had some issues again, but obviously in terms of tennis ability, I think he's got a lot to be happy about. I mean, his strokes are on each side here. Sometimes they're really lovely, and he's he moves well, and he's an interesting player, a skillful player, and a smart player as well. But at least though, he's in the top 100, and he's also the second youngest player in the top 100. So that's something to be proud about, right? The only other younger player in the top 100 is Jakub Mensik of Czechia. So he's That's some pretty good company to be with. So
One for the future. Yeah, absolutely. We'll turn briefly to the women's side, and we pretty much stopped doing. We thought it'd be great after a week of this to have like player of the week, but we've had to stop doing it because Moyuka Uchijima wins it every week. So she's just player of the year already. She won in Japan on hard, flies to Slovakia, wins first up on clay, goes to Spain, different conditions, surely too much. She plays 3-setter after 3-setter. And at the end of the week, ITF Spain 21A champion is Moyuka Uchijima. Where does this woman sleep, let alone practice?
It really is incredible, honestly. Moyuka Uchijima, and she's only 22 still.
Right.
I mean, I doubted that she'd be able to get this done, and yet she's gone. I think most people would have. I mean, at any level of tennis, you can say, well, this is just it's just the ITF levels, but I mean, it's not like the small ITFs, and it doesn't matter. I think like at any level of professional tennis, to win 3 consecutive weeks, and not only 3 consecutive weeks, she won 100 in Japan and then went to Europe. So across 2 different
it's
continents.
Not like winning in Portugal 3 weeks in a row, is it?
No. Yeah, so 100 title in Gifu, and then a 75 in Slovakia, and then now, this 100 title in Madrid. Yeah, she came through a tough final as well because she was down a set.
I think 3 days in a row during this tournament, you were texting me saying, "Oh, Uchijima looks done now." Comes back to win it. Next day, oh, Uchijima looks done now. In the final, exactly the same thing as well.
Yeah, I mean, in the semi-final, she was down. She got bageled, down 6-love against Jimenez Casanseva, but she came back and returned the favor and dished out a bagel of herself in the second set, and then won the final set 6-4. So she goes into the final having fought hard, and she goes down a set 7-5 to the local player Romero Gormaz. So yeah, and then but managed to grind out the second set 6-4, and in the final set she actually was serving for the match at 5-4 up a break, but then got broken back by Romero Gormaz to big cheers from the crowd, and she was whipping up the crowd as well, and you're thinking for Uchijima, oh no, is it all going to go pear-shaped? But no, Uchijima just she just switched on again and got the break back immediately. Some great returning, some very aggressive play, and then she finally served out 7-5. I was just very impressed with how, so her forehand, she loves to use the forehand, and she has quite, the reason she does well on this surface is that she's got quite a lot of spin on it. And so, she's able to utilize that well. She'll even run round the backhand to play the forehand. She seems to defend well. And especially when she hits that forehand cross court, like the inside out forehand across court, that was very effective. She seems to hit that shot very well. I was also impressed how she seems to love hitting a drive volley out the air. She doesn't want to hit an overhead or let it bounce. She just she'll hit those pretty well and pretty casually as well. And I felt like she won that title, and she was very casual about it, but it was quite an amazing achievement anyway. And what this means is she goes into the top 100 at 80. And that means she's
just
now
a little bit too late for Roland-Garros, but
80, and that makes her the Japanese number 1, the new Japanese number 1. So I mean, that's got to feel very good. And although she does have to do qualies, I mean, God, she must be tired. She's not going to play today. She's going to play starting tomorrow. But she has been handed a pretty good first round draw against.
Yeah, she's the 9th seed, and there's no one in there who looks particularly intimidating.
Yeah, so she the first match anyway, at least, is against Justina Mikulskaitė of Lithuania, and who has not been in good form. And she plays a lot of doubles, but in singles she's not been getting wins. So I mean, it's Uchijima's heavily favoured to win that, and it's probably that's probably just as well for her because she's had a tough time with playing a lot of matches. But as I say, though, with you've always got to be careful with. Although I do expect her to get through that one, the following matches you've got to be careful with Roland. Or sorry, I should say Slam qualies, because all these players are here to, they're going to make so much more money than they normally do in these other tournaments, even just in the qualies, right? They get wins, they get much more. And, obviously they want to play in a slam. So sometimes players, that pressure's off, they just go for it. And sometimes they just peak for a few matches. So there's no guarantees that she just gets through this one. Yeah, I mean...
Best form of her career, so the best time to be going into it. We'll return to the Roland-Garros qualies in a few moments. We'll do a very brief Lloyd Harris watch, because I know John Silk on Talking Tennis did actually manage to catch up with him, which was quite a feat actually, because Lloyd did not stop long in whereas he won his first round, then he lost to, I think it was Elias Emir in the round of 16. Also want to briefly flash all the way back over to Japan and talk very quickly about Zhang. Allow me this indulgence, obviously. She beat a couple of Japanese players before losing to Bektas for the second week running. I think it was. She lost pretty meekly, actually, in the quarterfinals and in straight sets 6-1, 6-3. And I think I asked you last night after I saw that result, I said, I can't see her in the Roland-Garros qualifying, and you actually had to break the news to me that her ranking has gone down to about 260, and she's playing in Goyang this week.
Yeah, she's playing in the Goyang 50K, right? ITF 50K.
Yeah,
here in Korea.
Are you going?
This weekend, right? Yeah. Maybe I can go to the. Well, I mean, it's going to be starting main draw tomorrow, but maybe I could go to the semis or the final this weekend. We'll see. I'll see how it goes. As far as this was the 75K in Kurumi, and it's another outdoor tournament. It was Bektas. Amina Bektas ended up being the champion. Actually, very good for her, because she got to the final in Fukuoka, right? And then
last week beaten by Birrell,
but then she wins this time against Rodionova, and that just means that she maintains, because I saw that she'd slipped down in the live ranking. The points were coming off, but when after these 2 weeks, when the rankings updated today, she was 97. I think she's back at 98, so she keeps within the top 100, and so that means she'll probably be able to she'll be making some slams coming up. So. Good for her. And it's quite interesting, actually, because I saw them on, I think I was going to say, I'm not sure, maybe Rodionova's Instagram. It's quite interesting because, these players, they all travel with each other, and it's just funny to see their stories. They're clearly they're very close to each other, and they're filming each other's speeches and stuff like this, and just having a bit of banter with each other on the post and stuff. So I thought it's just quite interesting. It's not many sports like that when you just your opponents, you get on quite well with them. So just a little bit of a mention, because we're Tennis Asia, right? So I noticed the Taiwanese player Mananchaya Sawangkawe, hopefully I'm saying that right. Mananchaya Sawangkawe. She's a 21-year-old from Thailand. She, I think, because of that semi-final run, makes her top 200 debut. So that's a good milestone for her. And I think she's also playing in Goyang this week. So
man,
she might even be the top seed.
It's a little bit hard to get to that one. It's walking distance from a subway station. We're talking Korea hard to get to. It's walking distance from a subway station. It's not in the middle of nowhere, but it's just
it's still
just
near
Seoul. A little bit awkward.
It's very close. It's just outside Seoul.
Okay. So heading into this coming week, we've got a couple items on the agenda. Obviously, the big one is Roland-Garros qualifications. We'll talk about those and now. obviously Duckworth's there. Coleman Wong is there. Lloyd Harris is there. Shang and Uchijima can meet each other, I think, in the in round 2. Any thoughts on this qualification draw?
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna. I mean, I noticed like a lot of people on Twitter and people that I know they're making their Roland-Garros qualification predictions for all the men's and women's. I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to just comment on some of the things which maybe catch my eye. I mean, first off, in the first section in the men's, you've got Christian Garin and Diego Schwartzman in one section, and so I mean, a couple of years ago, you'd be thinking you wouldn't have imagined they'd be playing the qualities for Roland Garros.
Be a third or fourth round match, yeah.
Yeah, right. For Asian interest, they got Sho Shimabukuro in there. He hasn't been that great recently, though, so I'm not particularly hopeful.
He beat your man Campagna Lee in Tunis last week, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. He beat him. That's right. Yeah, in the first round in sorry. Is it Oeras? No. Sorry, no, it was Tunis. Sorry.
Tunis, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, you said Tunis. Yeah, that was first round straight sets, but then he lost in the second round. So not ideal. Perhaps Christian Garin will be hopeful of getting through in that one. Coleman Wong, amazingly, is drawn against Patrick Kipson, who he just played in Oeras and lost pretty convincingly 6-3, 6-1. So don't fancy Coleman to get through that one.
Going to be checking the Challenger schedule for Coleman in the next couple of weeks.
Lloyd Harris is in the qualification. Yeah, he's not the most obvious talent on clay. He's never had much success on there, but he's got also in a section with guys like Duckworth, who are and I would say like Bellucci. These guys are not particularly good in clay, and he's drawn against Arthur Gea of France, the wild card. Yeah. Perhaps he could get through that one, so it might be some surprises there. I think, though, moving on to the other parts of the draw, Jerry Shang, or Shang Juncheng, to use his real name, he is drawn against the Argentine player, Roman and Andres Burruchaga. He is decent on clay, but I don't think it's a terrible draw for Shang. If he can get through that one, then he plays either Uchijima or a French wildcard, and then he might play in the final qualifying round. He could play Benoit Paire, who's there in that section, but Benoit Paire, you never know what you're going to get with him.
Which one's going to show up? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if he went on and qualified, it wouldn't surprise me that much, but yeah, at the same time, if he just has an absolute stinker in the first match, that wouldn't surprise me. So, but I think not bad for Shang. So I do have hopes that he can get through that. That he'll have enough quality to get through. Other players looking through, Mikhail Kukushin is there. We've also got. He's not very good on clay, but we'll see if he can get through. Mm-hmm. And Bu Yan Chao-Kete, he opens against Alex Molchan. Tough match, I would say, for quite evenly balanced, but maybe Molchan more experienced and used to this surface, so probably slightly favoured to get through that one, but we never know. Bu, he's a tough competitor, so we'll see if he can get through. Hong Sung Chan of Korea, he's drawn against Frenchman Kuoko. Again, and Hong is not a player who can play well on clay. He hasn't played, but we'll see how that goes. And then if we look at the women's,
the only one that caught my eye was the Thai player Terarudi against Yu of China. So a bit of a Tennis Asia derby in the opening round of qualies on the women's side.
Oh yeah, Terarudi. Yeah, so we'll see if she can get through because she's obviously on the up. She did pretty well recently in those ITF events, but yeah, she's playing another Chinese player and probably won't be easy. And then she'll have to play one of the those Ukrainian players.
The Ukrainians,
including the 29 seed there. But also, Alex Ayala is drawn against a Chinese player.
Oh, okay.
Ma Yexin. So, I mean, as I say, Could Ayala get through? I'm not particularly hopeful because there's a lot of tough players there, but it's not because I think she's in a particularly bad spot or anything. I just think there's a lot of similarly good players there in that part of the draw. So we'll see. I noticed Sara Saito is there, the Japanese player. She's only 17 years of age. She was a top junior, and now she's progressed onto the professional circuit. She most recently got last final she made was a 75k at the start of the year. She lost to Priscilla Hahn in straight sets. So, but obviously a lot of talents. Just only 17, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if she can get through. Maybe got a tough match though against the Portuguese player Francisca Jorge and Moyuka. Of course, we talked to her before. Moyuka Uchijima. Yeah, I think she's got not a bad draw, so I would probably expect her to get through. To be honest, it's the only thing I think that's going to stop Uchijima is her physical state. Right? Is she tired? Does she have niggles?
Right. We did mention. I can't quite believe it's taken us 6 episodes to actually mention Priscilla Hahn, but she has actually shown up in the qualifying draw as well. Yeah. She's playing against Bartel of Germany.
That's right, and Bartel. That's right, and that was who.
I mean, there's some context to it because obviously Priscilla Hahn is like a WTA Seoul Open legend. Basically, she plays every year for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, and I know that her family is originally from Hong Kong, right? Her parents are
right.
But she plays
I've got a picture of you on my phone with her actually when she's taking the picture, but you've put the phone on the wrong way around, and she's sort of making fun of you for that.
Yeah, that was
we can upload that actually.
But I'm not sure she's going to. Mona Bartel, that was who lost to Uchijima in the final in Slovakia.
Yeah.
So she's not coming in bad form, Bartel. And then we've also got Mai Hontama. She's qualified for slams before. And so she qualified for the Australian Open. And she's played in Wimbledon before. So she might have a good chance to get through. We'll see. She has to play. Who is it she's playing? I've lost it now. Anyway, Carol Zhao. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Carol Zhao, of course, is always playing these events in Asia. So, there's a lot to look for. We'll see, and that's basically what we're probably going to be mostly talking about in the next episode.
There's always,
and then obviously the main draw, which will have started by the time next episode comes around.
It's not, of course, the only tournament going on this week. I know you've had sort of half an eye on the ATP in Geneva as well. Sumit Nagal was playing yesterday.
Yeah, so we can talk a bit about Sumit Nagal. Of course, he played in Bordeaux, right? And he didn't have a good start, Sumit Nagal, because he lost in 6-2, 6-2 in Bordeaux. That was the Challenger 175 to Harold Mayo. 6-2, 6-2 Frenchman. But then, he went over to Geneva and played in the ATP 250. Got a tough draw against the 5th seed Sebastian Baez. And in fairness to Nagal, I thought he competed very well in that match. Because he went up a break, but then was brought back on serve, broken back by Baez. And it went to a tight tie-break. Baez eventually coming through that tie-break 9-7. I think Nagal he did have a set point as well. And then the second set, Baez did break and get up 6th. He finished that set 6-3. But for Nagal, I don't think that's a bad performance because obviously Baez is, very high level player. On clay, he's more than capable. And he's ranked 20th in the world for a reason, right? And to be competitive, and to get that sort of level of matching before Roland-Garros is probably good for him. We'll see how he does there. He's obviously not going to be seeded, so his success may be highly draw dependent, but he maybe feeling a bit better because obviously having lost that first challenger match back and not in a good way, to get at least a competitive match against a strong player like that is probably is nice for him.
Okay. So the time has come to ask any other business this week.
Well, just the Challenger Tour does continue. Even though we've got the Roland-Garros qualies on, we do have the Macedonian Open, which is being played in Skopje in North Macedonia. And the number one seed there is Jason Shang, or Shang Juncheng, who is the Taiwanese player. He's the number one seed. He had, he was up in the top 100 at around 80 in the rankings. That's his career high. And then he even got to the next gen finals. But then last year he had a bit of a stinker, let's be honest, and he fell quite far down. But then I think he started to get some results at the end of last year, and then he won a challenger title this year. So maybe on the way back up, and he opens against Alvarez Varano. Not a bad opening round for him. And then we've got Gerard Campagnoli, who we mentioned last week, who is opening against Britain's Jay Clark. I think not too bad a result, so not sure which way that one's going to go, but it could go either way. But Campagnoli will be hoping to get some first a main draw win under his belt, because I think it's been a while since he's had, because last week he won the qualies, but then he didn't win the main draw match, so it's been a little while for him to get a main draw win. So, but this might be the chance for him. And just talking more generally of interest, although he's not an Asian player, there's the Kamil Majchak in the draw from Poland. He was the one that was out for a while due to the doping ban, and he has come back. But he was, up in the top 100, so he's there unseeded in the draw, but he's one, obviously, that could cause some problems for a lot of players. And then Reiho is playing in the qualification, and do you know who he's playing against?
I don't.
Reiho, of course, is a doubles player from Taiwan, and he's just going straight over to Europe. He's managed to sneak into this singles draw, and he's playing against Nicholas Basilashvili.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we talk about the life of tennis players and how they go up and down.
Up and down.
Yeah, by the way, Basilashvili is now at 515 in the rankings. Wow. 5 years ago, he was in 2019. He was at a career high of 16. So
yeah, tennis. We're being spoiled, aren't we? Because we've got nine courts available, 9 different courts available simultaneously on the local TV channels here during Roland-Garros. So if I don't see you over the next week, I'll probably send out a search party to find you, because I think you're going to have 9 different screens in your in your apartment. Eddie, thank you very much for joining me today. And if there's no other business, I will see you next week for episode 7.
Yeah, all right. Thanks. See you next week then.
One, 6, 7, 6.